Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 PM IST, 3:30 PM GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Vielleicht nur als Imposant.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Here's a look at what's in store for you tonight. Let's get started. What will be Vladimir Putin's revenge for Ukraine's Kursk provocation? On Gravitas tonight, we dissect the many layers of what's playing out in the war zone and join the dots to get you the bigger picture, also the significance of what's playing out. And here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. A man in India's Rajasthan is seen dragging his wife in a video that has now gone viral and a story that has triggered widespread outrage. We tell you how things went wrong for the former Pakistan spy chief. It's a story you do not want to miss. Who is sabotaging the Gaza ceasefire? What's really happening? And how deep do the divisions run within Netanyahu's cabinet? We get you all the details. All this and more coming up. What will be Putin's revenge for Ukraine's Kursk provocation? On Tuesday, Russia issued an ominous threat to Ukraine. Its foreign intelligence services accused Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky of taking, quote-unquote, insane steps that threaten to escalate the war far beyond his country. And that chilling message from Russia came after Ukraine claimed to have seized 1,000 square kilometers of Russian territory, 1,000 square kilometers, during the cross-border raid. This is huge if true. Ukraine has managed a big win in the war, that would mean, by catching the Russians off guard with its surprise assault a week ago. That would be the messaging, if that is true. In fact, Russia is still struggling to repel the Ukrainian offensive, but how long will Ukraine be able to celebrate this supposed win? You see, Russia has dispatched reinforcements to the frontier territories. It has evacuated tens of thousands of residents. Its president has promised retribution. The question on your mind might be, what will Russia's revenge really look like? Just how violent will a Russian response be? In the latest, Ukraine's top commander says his forces have captured 1,000 square kilometers. That is 386 square miles of Russia's Kursk region. In fact, Ukraine says it has thrown thousands of troops at Russia's Kursk region. They say that the operation has seen Ukrainian forces capture more than 24 Russian towns and villages. On the ground in Kursk, intense fighting is underway between Ukraine and Russian forces. Having evacuated the region, the Russian forces on Tuesday struck back at Ukrainian troops with missiles, drones, airstrikes. The Russian military says that they have halted Ukraine's advance. According to Russian war bloggers, Ukrainian forces are trying to expand their control, but Russia is bringing in more soldiers and more heavy weaponry. They say Russia has been able to repel many of the Ukrainian attacks. Reports say Ukraine is taking heavy losses, both in men and the NATO vehicles. Footage published by the Russian Defense Ministry shows Sukhoi Su-34 bombers striking Ukrainian troops. They also show Russian infantry storming Ukrainian positions. Russia estimates that over 1,600 Ukrainians have been killed. Whether or not they are true is hard to tell. Reports suggest that Russia is throwing everything it has got into the Kursk battle. They say Russia has dropped Fab glide bombs at Ukrainian troops, as well as the weapons and equipment sent by Ukraine's NATO allies. Seeing the heavy losses that Ukraine is facing, many in fact are asking, was Ukraine's Kursk operation even worth the risk? According to the Ukrainian soldiers, the goal of the Kursk operation is to capture Russian territory as a bargaining chip and force Moscow to divert the troops from the Donbass front. A worthy objective. And Ukraine has managed to divert Russia's attention from Ukraine's eastern front line, by the way. But at the same time, analysts are pointing out what we have been saying since last week. The success of Ukraine's operation will actually depend on how long it is able to sustain the fight. Surely, that cannot be an easy feat. Just look at the front lines of Ukraine. Russia has captured large parts of Ukrainian territory, and it has been pushing troops deeper into Ukraine. Ukraine has, in fact, struggled to reclaim territories lost to Russia, even with NATO's help. If Ukraine has struggled to thwart the Russian threat, how much can Ukraine possibly manage to accomplish in Russian territory? Not only does Russia boast of a more formidable army, it also has the help of key allies. In Kursk, Chechen soldiers are fighting alongside the Russian soldiers. The soldiers are from the Chechen battalion called Akhmat. On Tuesday, Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov published a video of his soldiers fighting alongside another Russian unit in Kursk. In Kursk, the fighting is the most intense in the town of Suza. Now, it's not clear which side is currently in control of this Russian town. But on Monday, a Ukrainian soldier released a video saying Sudza was not under Russian control. The Ukrainian soldier claimed that the troops had not found Russian soldiers following a search of the city. Of course, WION cannot independently verify the date and claim that was made. Ukraine has portrayed its Kursk assault as a de facto victory for Ukraine. They say it will force Russia to reinforce other weak border regions with troops that could then not be deployed to Ukraine. In his nightly address, President Zelensky told Ukrainians that the operation in Russia was a matter of Ukrainian security. Just like Russia, Ukraine's Western backers, already keen on avoiding a direct NATO versus Russia war, were surprised by Ukraine's cross-border attack last week. As for what Ukraine hopes to achieve, it's very clear. Ukraine hopes to use the Kursk raid as a bargaining chip for potential truce talks in the future. But you see, by dedicating forces to Kursk, Ukraine may leave other parts of the front exposed, especially at a time when Russia has been making advances. As we said earlier, Russia has a far larger army. They could easily try to encircle the Ukrainian forces. According to the Institute for the Study of War, which is a US-based research group, Russian forces have continued their gains unabated over recent days. Russian attacks in the eastern Donetsk region of Ukraine have not stopped. Capturing Donetsk would be a major win for Putin. In fact, the region has been a long-sought prize for the Russian president. According to Russian officials, Ukraine is trying to show its Western backers that it can still muster major military operations, just as pressure mounts on both Kiev and Moscow to agree to talk about halting the war. Remember, Russia sent troops into Ukraine in February 2022. It now controls 18% of Ukrainian territory. Until the surprise attack on Russia's Kursk region last week, Ukraine had been losing territory to Russian forces. Despite hundreds of billions of dollars in US and European aid, it did not stop or reverse the Russian advance. And after more than 2 years of the most intense land war in Europe since World War II, both Moscow and Kiev have shown signs of fatigue. They are pondering possible talks, though in public, both are still far apart on what that would actually look like. Ukraine's Kursk assault could go on and could go in two ways. It could invite a furious response from Putin, which would see the war drag on for many more months. Or it could force Russia into coming to the talking table, although that looks like wishful thinking. For now, all eyes are on Russia. How will Putin respond to Ukraine's provocation? We will have to wait and watch. And some breaking developments coming in right this minute from Bangladesh. The interim government, headed by Mohammad Yunus, has decided to cancel the August 15 National Mourning Day, a day that marks the assassination of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the founding leader of Bangladesh. Now, this comes amid the severe unrest that has gripped the country, remember, and has also seen the ouster of the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and daughter of Mujibur Rahman. A very significant development given the situation at this time. Remember, a lot of concern over what lies ahead for Bangladesh even after this interim government has come into place and what the leadership of Mohammad Yunus and this interim government would really mean. Let's get in further details now from our correspondent Siddhant Sibal, who's with us on the broadcast. Siddhant, if you can just lay out for us what we are gathering at this point.
Well, we need to first understand why 15th of August is important for Bangladesh. This was the day when the father of the nation of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and his family were assassinated in Bangladesh. We know that after the assassination, Sheikh Hasina, who was in Germany that time, left the country, and after some time she sought refuge in India. And essentially, when she came back to power, that day was made a day of national mourning. Now, essentially, this day was marked every year, not only in Bangladesh, but across the Bangladeshi embassies across the world. Now, we know that with the cancellation, that means that it will not be a holiday. And second, it looks like there will be a toned down event, perhaps, or no event when it comes to marking that day. We saw the assassination of the father of the nation of Bangladesh. So a significant development and a message of perhaps new policies by the Yunus-led, Professor Yunus-led interim government in Bangladesh. Now, essentially, we have also seen a significant development in terms of a statement that has been issued by Sheikh Hasina. This is the first statement she has issued since she left the country, and the statement has been issued via her son, Sajib Wazid, and the statement basically calls upon the countrymen to mark the day of national mourning, the 15th of August. She has said that this is the day when her family, her father was assassinated, and the country should not forget that. The statement is in Bangla, but nonetheless, it is very significant in terms of she reaching out to the countrymen, and secondly, asking the countrymen not to forget the country's legacy.
All right, we're leaving it there for the moment, Siddhant. Thanks very much for joining us with those updates. If you're just tuning in, a very significant development that we have been tracking for you coming in from Bangladesh. In fact, in the latest, the interim government headed by Mohammad Yunus has decided to cancel the August 15 National Mourning Day. This, remember, is a day that marks the assassination of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who is the founding leader of Bangladesh. This comes amid the severe unrest and the volatile situation on the ground that has been of concern as well, and has also seen the ouster of the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who is the daughter of Mujibur Rahman. Shifting focus for now. If you thought wars were as brutal as things get, and we human beings are the most brutal in war zones, the video I am about to show you next will urge you to rethink. But before that, here's a trigger warning. What I'm about to show you may trigger some of you, because that is what the video is. It is extremely triggering. It shows brutal barbarism, thousands of miles from a war zone. In the Indian state of Rajasthan, a man reportedly tied his wife to a bike and dragged her around the village. In this video that has now gone viral, one can see the monster dragging his wife to a rocky road. She's screaming. She's crying out for help. The man reaches what appears to be a sort of a dead end of the road. He gets off his bike, stands seemingly arrogantly, inspecting the damage caused. That's when the video ends. What sort of monstrous behavior is this? Reports identify this man as Prem Ram Meghwal. We don't know how old he is. Reports say he is unemployed and a drug addict. Again, there is no way to verify these claims either, but that is besides the point. Who this man is, what he does, and why he did what he did is not even close to what this story is really about. Some reports say he was punishing the woman for wanting to visit her sister. There are other reports claiming something completely different. But you know what? I frankly do not care about any of that, and neither should you, because no matter what, and I repeat, no matter what, you do not get to treat a woman like that. You have absolutely no right to brutalize her. Tying a woman to your bike, dragging her around the village? This is animal behavior, and anyone indulging in such disgusting behavior is not a human being. And neither are those filming this video, by the way. Could you not stop that man? Could you not intervene? What stopped you from helping this distressed woman when she's crying out for help? What business do you have calling yourself a human being if you cannot come to the help of another human being? And a lot worse, continue to film what's happening. In the video, you can see multiple people present there. They are all silent bystanders. They are watching that man drag the woman. Her clothes are falling apart. She's crying for help, but help does not arrive. No one intervenes as she is being dragged around. In the video, you can even spot another woman passing by. She continues to walk casually. Why is she not agitated? Why is she not affected by what's happening around her? Are we to then assume that this behavior is normal? That such brutality is normal? What else explains this shocking detachment? This is shameful, and I'm seriously appalled that this is happening in 21st century India. Is this how contemporary India treats its women? This video, we are being told, is a month old. It has gone viral at a time when India is talking about the safety of its women in light of the rape and murder of a resident doctor in Kolkata. Now, whether or not you are in India, whether or not you are an Indian, whether or not you are a woman, these stories should force you to sit up and question why Indian women are facing such abuse. This woman who was being dragged around the village could have died. Thank God she managed to survive that abuse. But imagine the kind of trauma she is living with. Imagine the kind of trauma the resident doctor in Kolkata went through. It was just another night at work for her. She had watched Neeraj Chopra's silver medal winning javelin throw while eating her dinner. She had called her mother after, told her it's late and that she also must have her dinner. That was the last time the mother-daughter duo would speak. What have the women of this country done to deserve such brutality? What makes these barbaric men think they can dare to brutalize a woman? Reports say the monster who killed the Kolkata resident doctor is showing no remorse. He has in fact dared the cops to hang him. In the viral video, the monster from Rajasthan is seen standing next to the injured wife, his pose reeking of arrogance. It is as if he is proud of what he has done to his wife. Reports say the man has been arrested. He was picked up by the cops after that video went viral. We urge the authorities to ensure he gets exemplary punishment. Let the men in this country and outside know that you cannot get away with abusing women. We now shift our attention to Pakistan. The arrest of the former Inter-Services Intelligence or ISI chief, Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid, in a corruption case has been making headlines. Political experts are now not viewing this as just a corruption case, but a calculated move by the Pakistan Army, quashing any potential threats to the current military leadership and reinforcing the command structure within the Pakistan Army, sending out a loud and clear message that no one, not even a former ISI head, is untouchable if they challenge the authority. Let's just break this down for you. The protagonist of the story is retired Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid. Who is he? as the ISI chief came into the international spotlight, especially in the aftermath of the Taliban's takeover in Afghanistan 2021. This is what he had said back then. I'm quoting, "Don't worry, everything will be all right." Listen in.
We are working for peace and stability in Afghanistan.
Don't worry, everything will be okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's how far things have panned out for him and the country. Everything is far from all right for him. He was taken into custody, not in civilian clothes, but in his full army uniform. This is big and very significant. It underscores the military's intention to treat this case as an internal matter bound by military law and not just another criminal proceeding. Let's just be clear here. This arrest did not happen in a vacuum. The investigation that led to this point was initiated back in April following a Supreme Court ruling from November of last year. The case revolves around a housing scheme known as Top City. Hamid, alongside his brother Najaf, allegedly used the ISI to coerce a private landowner into transferring valuable land to Najaf, a junior revenue official. There are reports of torture and harassment to achieve this goal. Now, while these allegations are damning, they are not the heart of the issue. Corruption is known to be rampant in many institutions across Pakistan, and the military is no exception. But the Pakistan Army has historically been lenient when it comes to the questionable financial dealings of its top brass. So why the sudden crackdown on Faiz Hamid? The answer lies in the internal dynamics of the army itself. As per reports, the real crime in the eyes of the military leadership seems to be Faiz Hamid's alleged attempts to stir up disobedience within the ranks. There are multiple reports suggesting that Hamid was working to undermine the authority of the current army chief, General Asim Munir. What else do we know about Hamid? He is known to have strong connections within the political system. He has been accused of manipulating major political parties, including the Pakistan People's Party and the Pakistan Muslim League, and even having sympathizers within the Shehbaz Sharif cabinet. There are also claims that he established a network with the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan to bolster Imran Khan's political fortunes in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. As per reports, his close political ties, more than anything else, is likely what sealed his fate. The military court proceedings against Faiz Hamid will be conducted away from the public eye and will likely reveal little to the outside world. What is likely to leak out will be carefully curated to serve the army's broader narrative, one that seeks to discredit both Hamid and, by extension, Imran Khan. But the question is, why now? Why has the military chosen this moment to move against Faiz Hamid? The answer lies in the growing unrest within the armed forces. The military leadership has been increasingly concerned about the rise of Imran Khan and the loyalty that he commands, not just among the civilian population, but within the army as well. The May 9 protests last year, which saw the PTI supporters clashing with the military, were allegedly a wake-up call to the military. As per reports, the arrest of Faiz Hamid then is as much about sending out a message to Imran Khan as it is about internal discipline. This is about reasserting control and ensuring that the chain of command remains unbroken. But what about the broader implications for Pakistan? The military's decision to crack down on one of its own is a clear sign that it is willing to go to great lengths to maintain its grip on power. But the thing is, this story does not end here. This move could also backfire. The military risks creating a figure that could actually rally the opposition against the current leadership, both within the military and among the people. Not just that, the political fallout of this case remains uncertain. The military's approach could also alienate segments of the population who are already disillusioned with the current state of affairs. Pakistan's courts, which have shown a willingness to assert their independence in recent times, could also become a battleground if Hamid's case is appealed. And as this continues to unfold, one thing is clear: the Pakistan Army has made its move, but the game is far from over. could there be life on Mars? That is a question that has captivated the world for decades, and now fresh revelations about the planet's water resources have sparked a fresh debate. Does the red planet hold vast amounts of liquid water deep within its crust? Let's tell you what the latest findings say. Researchers are suggesting that Mars, which lost its atmosphere billions of years ago, might still harbor significant quantities of water trapped beneath its surface. And no, we are not talking about the visible ice at the poles. This is something far more intriguing. In fact, scientists estimate that vast amounts of liquid water could be hidden deep within the Martian crust at depths ranging from 11.5 to 20 kilometers. But how do they know this, you ask? Well, the evidence comes from a combination of gravity data and seismic measurements gathered by NASA's InSight lander. And by analyzing how the seismic waves travel through the Martian crust, scientists have been able to infer the presence of liquid water. Specifically, they believe that rocks in the mid-crust are cracked and filled with this liquid water. And if their calculations are correct, the volume of water could surpass the ancient Martian oceans. Now, this is not just a wild theory. The team at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, who spearheaded that study, said that the amount of water potentially trapped in these rocks could fill an ocean 1 to 2 kilometers deep. However, before we jump to conclusions about Martian life, let's just take a step back. The presence of water alone does not guarantee the existence of life. But it does raise the stakes. It's a very significant development. On Earth, where there is liquid water, there is life, even deep underground. Could the same be true for the red planet? Could this hidden reservoir be the key to finding microbial life, or at least the conditions necessary for life to thrive? These are the questions driving the next phase of Mars exploration. And if liquid water is present, it could be a prime target for future missions searching for signs of life. Scientists believe that if it is possible to pinpoint where the water is, it might just be the breakthrough that human beings have been waiting for. Let's not forget that early in its history, Mars was much warmer and had a thicker atmosphere, conditions that could have made it more hospitable to life than Earth at the time. And if Mars was indeed conducive to life billions of years ago, could some form of life have survived underground? As we wait for an answer to that big question, one thing is clear: this is a significant milestone, and who knows, this step could be a giant leap towards unraveling the great mysteries of the red planet. In an unprecedented display of divisions within Israel's government, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu publicly criticized the defense minister, Yoav Gallant. The attack wasn't just personal. It revealed the deep, festering rifts within Netanyahu's cabinet. Is Netanyahu losing control of his government at a time when unity is essential? Our next report telling you more.
There is a growing rift within Netanyahu's cabinet. Reports in the Israeli media claim that Defense Minister Yoav Gallant dismissed Netanyahu's declared aim of achieving total victory over Hamas in Gaza as nothing more than nonsense. Gallant apparently made these statements in a private security briefing with lawmakers. The Prime Minister's office then responded with a statement accusing Gallant of harming Israel's chances of securing a deal for the release of hostages held by Hamas. This comes as West Asia braces for what could be an explosive escalation. The United States is ramping up its military presence in the region, sending the guided missile submarine Georgia to bolster its forces. Meanwhile, Iran and Hezbollah are vowing retaliation for the recent killings of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and senior Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr. Even as Netanyahu and Gallant clash, international efforts to stave off a broader conflict are intensifying. US President Joe Biden, alongside leaders from Egypt and Qatar, are pushing for a ceasefire in Gaza. On Monday, the White House released a joint statement from the leaders of the United States, UK, France, Germany and Italy, declaring that time is running out to prevent further bloodshed. They also issued a warning to Iran, urging it to stand down its threats against Israel. International officials are traveling across West Asia in countries such as Qatar, Egypt, Lebanon this week in an effort to secure a ceasefire and avert further escalation. Meanwhile, Netanyahu's office has confirmed that Israel will send a negotiating team for the upcoming talks, likely in Cairo or Doha. Hamas has indicated it may not participate, casting further doubts on the likelihood of a truce. As the Israeli military continues its offensive in Gaza, ordering civilians to evacuate certain areas in preparation for further attacks, the internal discord within Netanyahu's government becomes even more significant. What will happen to the hostages in Hamas's captivity? How can Israel expect to achieve its goals in Gaza when its leaders are at odds with each other? This isn't the first time Gallant has found himself at odds with Netanyahu. Last year, he urged the Prime Minister to suspend a controversial plan to overhaul the Israeli judiciary, a move that sparked widespread protests. More recently, Gallant warned that the lack of a post-war plan for Gaza could lead to a prolonged occupation, costing Israel dearly in blood and treasure for no clear purpose. In a statement on X on Monday, Gallant didn't confirm or deny whether he had labelled Netanyahu's goal of total victory as nonsense. Gallant emphasized that he is determined to achieve the war's objectives, which include dismantling Hamas and securing the release of hostages. As per reports, despite Netanyahu's statements, there are no immediate plans to dismiss Gallant as the defense minister. As West Asia teeters on the brink of a wider conflict, Israel's internal divisions are becoming increasingly problematic. Can the government hold itself together long enough to see the crisis through? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
It's only been a week since the 15-year Sheikh Hasina regime has been ousted in Bangladesh. As the interim government gets down to business, it has assured no discrimination against the Hindus in the country. Amid the ongoing protests over the attacks on minorities in Bangladesh, the chief advisor of the new interim government, Mohammad Yunus, has met the Hindu community members. He visited the famous Dhakeshwari National Temple in Dhaka and sought cooperation from the Hindu community. Mohammad Yunus has urged the Hindu community to exercise patience before making any judgment on the interim government. He said, and I'm quoting, "In our democratic aspirations, we should not be seen as Muslims, Hindus or Buddhists, but as human beings. Our rights should be ensured. The root of all problems lies in the decay of institutional arrangements. That is why such issues arise. Institutional arrangements need to be fixed," quote unquote. The violence in Bangladesh after Sheikh Hasina's ouster stirred fear in the Hindu minority community, with temples vandalized, houses and shops looted. Many Hindus were forced to flee the country. Others are fearing for their lives. The situation has calmed down now, but the fear factor remains.
I'm very scared. For a person who has collected so much stuff, made his house, If somebody burns it, then that person does not wish to go back to that home. But I still want to return to my house and live there because I have lived at that place for so long. But the fear of the goons and the looting that they did, because of that I am scared.
They are shivering. Every family, everywhere, even in Dhaka who are in the flats, they are shivering. They are closing their doors. They are not opening the door without confirming who is knocking.
The weeks-long violence has left a trail of destruction. The damaged government buildings and torched vehicles, cruel reminders of what Bangladesh has undergone and witnessed over the last 1 month. Parts of Bangladesh are now limping back to normalcy. Passenger train services have resumed after weeks of suspension. Train services in Bangladesh have seen complete shutdown since August 4th, after the student protesters, remember, called for a nationwide strike against Sheikh Hasina's government. Students who led the protests are back on the streets. This time, they intend to give a complete makeover to their country. They hope to build a free Bangladesh.
The main reason we are painting these murals is that we want to deliver a message to the people that have liberated this country from a dictator, and now we have to work together. The people will see and understand these messages, that if the students and all of the people work together, we can rebuild this country.
Meanwhile, a court in Bangladesh has opened a murder investigation into ousted ex-premier Sheikh Hasina and 6 top figures in the previous government over instructing the police to kill a man during the civil unrest. How far will you go to combat loneliness? In Hong Kong, the elderly are risking being jailed. They have taken up illegal gambling because that is just how lonely they are. Many of them live alone. Their children no longer stay with them or have enough time to spend with them. Many of their friends have passed on. So, what can the elderly who are left behind do with all that time? You see, Hong Kong does not seem to have enough recreational activities for them. Most of the places' activities cater to the young. So, many of the lonely elderly have taken up gambling. In fact, recently, a 90-year-old man was detained by cops. He was accused of indulging in illegal gambling. There were 8 others with him. All of them were 60 or older. Now, does this point at a trend? One that could be spilling beyond the border of Hong Kong? For some years now, Japan has been seeing a surge in grey crimes, crimes committed by the elderly. Some years ago, when an elderly woman was caught shoplifting, she said she was stealing in the hope that she would be caught and someone would talk to her. In other words, she was desperate for human interaction. This was her cry for help. In fact, these are places with a sizable elderly population. Hong Kong, for example, is among the world's fastest aging cities. By 2046, 36% of the residents are expected to be 65 and above. In Japan, 1 In fact, the people there are also mostly, the sizable chunk is elderly. As more parts of the world prepare for an aging population, should they start focusing on the well-being of the elderly is the immediate question. Should they try to come up with a strategy to keep the aging population engaged? And why should the elderly become so lonely and desperate in their final days? If this was a story about loneliness, our next story is about camaraderie, sisterhood. What if I told you there exists a secret language that only women can understand? A language created 400 years ago. A language known only to a small number of women in central China. It's called Nushu. The secret language started as a writing practiced in secrecy by women who were barred from formal education in Chinese. 400 years later, young people are spreading Nushu beyond the women's quarters. In fact, today, Nushu can be found in independent bookstores across China, in ads, in craft fair booths, in tattoos, and even everyday items like hair clips. Nushu is believed to have been created by women from a small village in Jiangyong, a south-central province, where late Chinese leader Mao Zedong was born. However, there is little consensus on when it originated. Scholars estimate the script is at least several centuries old, from a time when reading and writing were deemed an activity exclusively reserved for men. So, the women developed their own script to communicate with each other. It is believed that women who lived under the control of either their parents or their husband used this secret language, Nushu, sometimes called script of tears, to record their sorrows. From talking about unhappy marriages to family conflicts, the Chinese women used Nushu to express themselves and their problems. It is said that the Nushu script became a unique vehicle for composing stories about women's lives, typically in the form of 7-character line poems that are sung. And it gave the repressed women a voice through which they found friends and solace. Times have changed. Today, women can receive education. But you see, patriarchal constraints on women still exist. Nushu and the secret that the women shared for so long has therefore become a story that resonates even today. It is a source of strength for young women. Time now for Gravitas Recall. It is the 13th of August. And on this day, in the year 1961, East Germany sealed the border between Berlin's eastern and western sectors. And what followed was the building of a wall. And this wall would divide the city for how long? The next 28 years. In fact, this day would come to be called Barbed Wire Sunday. The date was the 13th of August, 1961. In the early morning hours, temporary barriers were put up at the border separating the Soviet sector from West Berlin. And what happened next is well known. Over the weeks that would pass by, a wall of concrete slabs and hollow blocks replaced the coils of barbed wire strung along the border to West Berlin. In fact, more than 100 people died trying to cross the Berlin Wall over the course of its 28-year-long history. Germany reunited on 3rd October 1990, 11 months after the fall of the Berlin Wall. On on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gampir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
Massive turning point in the West Asia conflict. Israel opens Iran war front. Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh killed in Tehran, a targeted attack during a visit to Iran for the new president's inauguration. Nearly 2,000 kilometers away in Beirut, Israel kills a top Hezbollah commander in a targeted strike. West Asia on the boil, war clouds darken, and the threat of a wider conflict grows bigger than ever.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra Show, popularly known as DSC Show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.